A newly discovered vulnerability in the .NET framework could put numerous enterprise applications at risk, allowing attackers to execute arbitrary code. This finding, presented on December 10, 2025, at the Black Hat Europe conference in London, highlights a significant security gap that could impact a wide range of software. The vulnerability, nicknamed SOAPwn, affects well-known platforms such as Barracuda Service Center and Ivanti Endpoint Manager, with potential implications for other applications using .NET. Researchers from WatchTowr Labs revealed that flaws in how the framework handles SOAP messages can be exploited to write files and execute malicious code. Next, we'll delve deeper into how this vulnerability works and what steps organizations can take to protect themselves. If you find this update helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to InfoSec Now for the latest cybersecurity news. Your support really helps us continue building useful content for cybersecurity professionals. If you found this update helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to InfoSec Now for the latest cybersecurity news. Your support really helps us continue building useful content for cybersecurity professionals. The discovery of the SOAPwn vulnerability has raised significant concerns regarding the security of enterprise applications built on the .NET framework. Researchers from WatchTowr Labs identified that the flaw is primarily rooted in how applications process SOAP messages, specifically through the manipulation of WSDL imports and HTTP client proxies. This exploitation can lead to severe consequences, including arbitrary file writes and remote code execution. Notably, the implications of SOAPwn extend beyond individual applications. The vulnerability affects key products such as Barracuda Service Center RMM and Ivanti Endpoint Manager, but the full extent of its impact is still being assessed. Given the widespread adoption of the .NET framework across various industries, many additional applications may be at risk, highlighting a potential security crisis for organizations reliant on these technologies. The mechanics of the attack involve the ability to control the URL that the HTTP client proxy interacts with. Attackers can exploit this by feeding a malicious WSDL file, enabling them to execute arbitrary code on the server. This capability is particularly alarming as it opens the door for sophisticated attacks, such as deploying web shells or executing PowerShell scripts, effectively allowing attackers to take control of the affected systems. Despite the severity of the findings, Microsoft has chosen not to implement a fix for the vulnerability, citing that it arises from application behavior rather than a flaw in the framework itself. This decision has sparked debate within the cybersecurity community, as organizations are left to fend for themselves against potential threats, particularly in light of the responsible disclosure process that highlighted the issue over a year prior. As organizations update their software to mitigate the risks associated with SOAPwn, the situation serves as a stark reminder of the importance of secure coding practices and the need for developers to scrutinize third-party inputs. The ongoing discussions around this vulnerability may lead to increased scrutiny of security protocols and a re-evaluation of how enterprise applications handle potentially unsafe data inputs. The discovery of the SOAPwn vulnerability in the .NET framework has raised significant concerns among organizations that rely on affected applications. As enterprises increasingly integrate web services into their operations, the implications of this vulnerability extend beyond immediate technical risks, influencing overall organizational security strategies and compliance requirements. One of the most pressing impacts is the potential for unauthorized remote code execution, which can lead to severe data breaches. Organizations using vulnerable systems such as Barracuda Service Center and Ivanti Endpoint Manager face heightened risks of data theft and operational disruption. The ability for attackers to manipulate file writes and execute arbitrary code can compromise sensitive information and critical business processes. Moreover, the vulnerability underscores the importance of robust input validation and security hygiene in software development. As organizations adopt agile methodologies and third-party components, the reliance on external libraries and frameworks increases the attack surface. This situation calls for a re-evaluation of security protocols and practices, emphasizing the need for thorough vetting of any code that interacts with untrusted input. In light of the vulnerability's existence and exploitation potential, organizations must also consider the regulatory implications. Many industries are governed by strict compliance frameworks that mandate certain levels of data protection. Failure to address the SOAPwn flaw could result in non-compliance, exposing organizations to legal liabilities and financial penalties. This reality necessitates a proactive approach to vulnerability management, including regular audits and updates to ensure compliance with industry standards. Furthermore, the response from Microsoft, which has indicated that the responsibility lies with developers to avoid consuming untrusted input, shifts the onus onto organizations. This stance highlights the critical need for training and awareness programs that equip developers with the knowledge to implement secure coding practices effectively. Organizations must prioritize education on secure software development to mitigate risks associated with vulnerabilities like SOAPwn. In summary, the implications of the SOAPwn vulnerability reach far beyond technical fixes. They challenge organizations to reassess their security frameworks, compliance obligations, and developer training programs. As the threat landscape evolves, a proactive and comprehensive approach to security is essential for safeguarding enterprise applications against emerging vulnerabilities. In light of the SOAPwn vulnerability, affected vendors and users must take immediate and strategic steps to mitigate potential risks. First and foremost, organizations currently using Barracuda Service Center RMM and Ivanti Endpoint Manager are urged to upgrade to the latest versions, as these updates include critical patches that address the vulnerability. Users of Umbraco 8 face a more complex situation, as the software has reached its end of life, leaving them without official support or updates. These users should consider migrating to a supported platform to ensure ongoing security. Additionally, organizations should conduct a thorough assessment of their existing applications that utilize the .NET framework, particularly those that handle SOAP messages. Implementing robust input validation and sanitization mechanisms can significantly reduce the risk of exploitation, as highlighted by the research findings. Furthermore, it is crucial for developers to avoid generating HTTP client proxies from untrusted WSDL files, as this practice poses a substantial security risk. To bolster their defenses, companies should also invest in continuous monitoring and threat detection solutions that can identify unusual patterns or behaviors indicative of attempted exploitation. Educating staff about the risks associated with insecure coding practices and the importance of adhering to security best practices is equally vital. Lastly, organizations should remain vigilant and engaged with the cybersecurity community, as new vulnerabilities and exploits are frequently discovered. Participating in information sharing initiatives can provide timely insights into emerging threats and effective countermeasures, ultimately enhancing their overall security posture. If you found this update helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to InfoSec Now for the latest cybersecurity news. Your support really helps us continue building useful content for cybersecurity professionals.